they need to be strip searched. It doesn't matter if someone's fat like that. You got to get between them rolls. Yes, it's nasty, it stinks, it's disgusting, but you got to get in there. Yeah, get in there. Yeah, you got to, because that's the only way you're gonna find stuff like this. Hello everyone, Tactical Safety back at it again. This story is in Chicago, and my condolences go to Chicago police officer's family. He was killed in the line of duty. There were 2 officers that were shot. One of them died right away. The other one is in critical condition, so pray that he makes a full recovery. This shooting was the result of not doing a thorough search. Check this news story out, and we got a lot to talk about.
Tonight, NBC5 investigates a question that is still perplexing many of us and may haunt police families for a long time. How did a violent career criminal smuggle a gun into a Chicago hospital while he was in CPD custody?
Investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy is here and has been looking for some answers tonight. Chuck?
Stefan, when Alfonso Talley was taken into custody and put in a CPD transport wagon, the police policy called for him to be handcuffed and searched head to toe. It's a procedure repeated thousands of times a year in Chicago and on hundreds of occasions for every patrol officer. Tonight, investigators are still searching for answers in the Talley case, how he managed to sneak a gun into a hospital emergency room past 2 veteran officers and hospital security who all had searched him. The moment of truth for many Chicago police officers, an arrest and search for dangerous weapons. This 26-year-old career criminal, Alfonso Talley, whom prosecutors say appears in a lengthy rap sheet of gun crimes and shouldn't have been on the streets, last Saturday managed to smuggle a Glock 10mm pistol like this, branded as a subcompact and easily concealed. Now, law enforcement sources tell the NBC Chicago investigative team that Talley hid his illegally obtained weapon in the folds of fatty skin, his weight recently down from 320 pounds to 280. Despite Talley being unclothed for a medical check and covered with only a hospital blanket, the gun went undetected during several searches. Prosecutors say the chronic felon pulled the gun from beneath the blanket and began firing at both wagon officers.
Remember, professional criminals, people that are carrying guns, are professionals at what they do. They do not want to be caught. They are very good at secreting weapons upon their body.
Former CPD Chief of Detectives Gene Roy says this department directive lays out custodial search policies, including occasional searches of genitals, buttocks, anus, or undergarments. When Talley was arrested last weekend, he told arresting officers that he had swallowed 5 bags of drugs and needed medical help. Investigators believe that ploy was to get inside Swedish Hospital, where he would be unhandcuffed for an imaging scan. That's when he retrieved the gun hidden in rolls of skin, according to law enforcement sources. How did Talley know about the possible escape point? We've learned Talley made a very similar drug-swallowing claim a year ago. According to this Chicago police report we've obtained, April 2025, Talley was arrested and said he'd swallowed multiple bags of crack cocaine and was transported to the hospital. On that occasion, there was no gun. But during arrests, officers aren't likely to know such history, according to Roy.
In 90% of those cases, you are not going to know who that individual is, what their criminal history is, and what sort of background they may have had. Are they a violent offender or a nonviolent offender? You would be shocked at how resourceful criminals are to avoid getting caught with a weapon or to try and bring a weapon into a facility where one is not allowed.
Retired Chief of Detectives Roy tonight says in his decades at CPD, he never saw a suspect conceal a gun in the way this was apparently done. And he says apparently because we may never know exactly where it was hidden on the accused shooter. Federal prosecutors tonight say they know where the pistol came from, Talley's girlfriend, now charged with buying it illegally at an Indiana gun store. She's charged with lying to the gun store owner about why she wanted the gun.
So, you heard that, you saw that story, which was very unfortunate. Now, the guy had a Glock 29 10mm, which is what this is right here. It comes standard with a 10-round magazine, but this has a Pierce grip, a Pierce Plus extension, which increases it to 12 rounds. So this gun this is not an easily concealable weapon by the stretch of the imagination, because it's very thick. It's a lot thicker than the Glock 9mm and 40 calibers. Way thicker than that, and quite a bit heavier. So they said he had it tucked between rolls of fat. So I've done plenty of prisoner guards at the hospitals and everything when I was a cop, and whenever I'm taking over a detail like that, whenever I'm escorting someone to a hospital, because at a hospital they're going to have to be uncuffed to get examined or to go through MRI, stuff like that. So before that happens, they need to be strip searched. It doesn't matter. If someone's fat like that, you got to get between them rolls. Yes, it's nasty, it stinks, it's disgusting, but you got to get in there. Yeah, get in there. Yeah, you got to. Because that's the only way you're going to find stuff like this. Because I've seen it where somebody had a couple joints tucked between rolls of fat before. Recover that. And then at the hospitals, they got those gloves, the latex gloves, that kind of go all the way up to your elbows. So you can reach in those rolls of fat and do your searches. It's nasty, like I said, but you got to get in there. And that's what wasn't done. They said despite several searches, they didn't search thoroughly enough. Because had they done that, they would have discovered that gun on them. Because it's very unfortunate that this happened, but now this is like a wake-up call right here. So hopefully more officers are going to do way more thorough searches when they have prisoners at hospitals. Because, and another thing about hospitals is that the officer doesn't know if that person that they arrested who's in custody has a friend or a relative who's also a criminal that happens to be employed at the hospital. They could be on the cleaning crew, they could be a nurse, they could be a doctor, whatever. They could smuggle them in some kind of weapon. That could easily happen. So with a thorough search, like I said, that wouldn't have happened at all. And also, this guy, he should have never been out on the street in the first place. There have been so many times where people have been killed by criminals who should have never been out on the street in the first place. Like there was another Chicago police officer, Nathaniel Taylor, got killed back in, I think it was 2013. And the guy that killed him, he had already been convicted of attempted murder on another police officer and served, I don't know how much time he served, but he didn't serve that much time. It was a minimal sentence, and he should have never been out in the first place. But like in Chicago, Cook County, this is commonplace because there have been so many times where people have been sentenced to, let's say, 10 years, and then they're out in 2 years. Stuff like that. And that kind of craziness typically doesn't happen down here in Georgia because they have more of what they call truth in sentencing here in Georgia. If you get sentenced to 10 years, you're going to do at least 7 or 8 of them. And rightfully so. So this is very unfortunate. Like I said, my deepest condolences go to those families. And hopefully this guy never gets out of prison. But something like this should never happen because to all my officers out here, you got to be thorough with your searches. You can always get gloves. You got to search these people and make sure they don't have nothing on them that's going to hurt you. All right? So with that, remember to stay armed, stay vigilant, and stay tactical. See y'all next time.
Get up.